Well, that lifted my spirits. Thank you so much, Sharon. That was awesome. So we're in week 3 of a 3-part series that we've been doing on the 12 powers. And we are in the part that is embodied transformation, right? Becoming the change. How do we actually bring it forward into time and space, right? Is that right? Yes, okay. Y'all are gonna bear with me today, right? Feeling a little scattered, apologies. So the 12 powers, for those who don't know, are one of the foundational teachings of unity. It is how we understand how the tools that we have, the spiritual technology that we have, to be able to activate in time and space the truth of who we actually are. Because I don't know about you, but it can be a little overwhelming to just be like, oh, I want to be the Christ Buddha presence. And what does that mean? Right? How do I actually live that, besides it just being like an idea in my head? And the way we understand it in unity is through the 12 powers. So Charles Fillmore would say that when all of our powers are balanced together in harmony, then we are then able to reveal the Christ, Buddha, Gaia, Atman presence, right, that we actually are. And the thing I want everyone to know is we are all using these powers right now. How balanced they are is really the question. So the clearest example I can make about that is people will say to me, oh, I don't have faith. And I will say to them, but you do. You have faith that you have no faith. So we're using our powers. We're always using our powers. The question is, how are we using those powers? Are we using them to align ourselves with the highest and best? But these powers aren't something we have to find. We already are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, life, zeal, release, and order. But how are we accessing that in our life? So if you want to know more about this, Linda Martella Woodsit has a book called Divine Audacity, which is all about the 12 powers, and we have it in the bookstore. And then I realized I'm pitching her book, and I'm not pitching my book. So the book that Linda and I wrote together on affirmative prayer, Discover Your Divinity, also has a tremendous amount about the 12 powers in it. Because what we understand affirmative prayer to be is a way to activate the 12 powers. So we have a lot of information in there that links back to Divine Audacity, and both of those are available in the bookstore, okay? So we started week 1 with the powers of faith, how we intuit and perceive things, a power of strength, how we can stay the course and persevere. Anybody feel like they need strength lately? The power of wisdom, so our ability to discern and apply what we know in life. And then the power of love, which in unity is not about the emotional state of love. We're talking about the divine idea of love, which is the great harmonizer, the great unifier, which you can never fall out of that kind of love. It's constant. It's something always available to us. And so this is our inner compass. Faith allows us to see. Strength is what holds us. Wisdom is what guides us. And love is what unifies us. And then week 2, and you can, I got whole talks about these on YouTube, so you can check them out if you haven't seen them. Week 2, last week we covered power, which in unity is what we understand about our own self-mastery. Our ability to actually master our own understanding of ourself to live into our divine identity. Our power of imagination, which is how we can envision. Our power of understanding, which is how we comprehend, and we're talking about spiritual understanding. And our power of will. Where are we choosing from? Where are we deciding from? And so the way these four powers work together is they take that inner clarity from week 1, and it begins to synthesize into some understanding of how this is going to show up as outer action. So power is what expresses. Power is located in our throat chakra, and it is when we are expressing truth, when we're expressing love, when we're speaking from that divine authority that we have. Imagination envisions, understanding illuminates, and will is how we commit. So can you feel how these work together to support our beginning to understand that it's not just an inner journey, it's all an inside job. That is very true. And it is an inside job that asks us to bring something into the world. And so what we're going to look at today is inspired action. And that though that place, that inspired action, arises from order, zeal, release, and life. So, order. It is the ability to organize, to balance, to sequence, and most importantly, to adjust. I call it the power of the pivot, right? Order, sometimes when order is not in balance, we sort of like get stuck, like, oh no, this is the next thing I have to do, this is what I've always done, No, the true power of order is our ability to pivot in a moment and be responsive to what's happening in time and in space. Our power of zeal, it's our ability to be enthusiastic, to be passionate. It's what starts things, right? It's the energy that kind of motivates us forward. I don't know anything about this power personally. You know those people who are zealous, right? We know those people, right? And then the power of release. We did a whole burning bowl ritual around our power of release. It's so important that we are able to eliminate what doesn't serve, that we're able to let go of things that we don't want to carry around anymore. And then ultimately, the power of life. And life is what energizes and vitalizes and animates and invigorates. So if zeal is what starts us off, life is what keeps it going. So let's just look at release a little bit more, because sometimes it's easy to just think about release as being, I don't want that anymore, so I'm releasing it. And release is actually deeper than that. Our power of release is a cleansing power. It's a restoring power. It's our ability to remember our divine identity by releasing the false narratives. How many people in here grew up hearing that they were either too much or not enough or never going to be good enough? That stuff gets in your bones. It's the power of release that allows us to cleanse, remove those things that aren't actually true about us. I have a client, and we were talking, and they were saying, well, this and this and this, it was all their history. And they said, is that helpful to you to know that? We were doing spiritual direction, and I said, it's neither helpful or unhelpful. I said, because it's not true. And just silence. It's not true, right? The truth of who we are is so much more than whatever our past experiences have been. And it's our power of release that allows us to engage with that and to truly heal something. The power of renunciation. It's our ability to just say no. Not no, but just no. Can you feel the difference in that? No. New Thought is really big on the power of yes, right? I am, yes, I can. We believe in a positive, affirmative ideas about ourselves. We believe in reminding ourselves about the spiritual truth of who we are. But if we're saying yes to something, then it means we're saying no to something else. So the power to say no is really important. And then the power of repentance, and everybody just take a breath, because I know that triggers a lot of us, right? All of a sudden we're back in whatever faith tradition we might have grown up in. So I need everyone to breathe into it. The reason why I kept that word there is because in Latin, repent means to rethink. So if we can re-qualify what that word repentance means, it means we're rethinking something about what we understood about ourselves or a situation. So it is the power of forgiveness. It is our capacity to make amends. It is the opportunity that we have to change our mind and remember the truth of who we are. And can you feel how soft that becomes? Forgiveness is such a healing practice, and it is release. That's the power that we access forgiveness through. Forgiveness for ourselves, first and foremost. How many people in here are hard on themselves? I should see everybody's hands go up, right? We're so hard on ourselves. The standards we hold ourselves to. What if we could just breathe into this idea that we get to rethink it all? And so we have this power of release, which allows us to make space, but then what are we doing with all that space? That really becomes the question. And so the power of zeal is our ability to be enthusiastic and to move things forward, right? And celebrate moments every day. How many people in here celebrate the moment something every day? Really, like you're back in kindergarten and you're giving yourself a gold star. How many of us do that? All too often what we do is say, oh, well, yeah, that worked, but oh, this other thing did not work, right? We give it like a passing, yeah, whatever. But this thing that's not working gets all of our attention. Zeal is our capacity to focus on the things that we get to be like, woohoo about, right? Excited about. I did that. Baby steps. We're going to learn a lot about baby steps when we do the Unapologetic Manifestation series. Baby steps. We don't need to get all the way over there. We just need to take one step. And I love the zeal is the power of audacity. How many people in here feel like being audacious, right? And that's about boldness. That's about speaking up. That's about even when it isn't popular. That's the big piece about being audacious, is being bold when you don't know what kind of reception you're going to get. And then for me, I've shared this, that, for a while I kept getting the power of zeal. When we would do the burning bowl, I'd get the power of zeal at the end of it. And I would be like, but I know so much about zeal. What do I need to understand about zeal? I already kind of got this. And then I read Linda's book, and she talks about that zeal is the power of devotion. And all of a sudden, it just opened up this entire landscape for me. What am I really devoted to? And devotedness doesn't have to be like, hey, everybody, come with me, right? Devotedness can be quiet and still. Devotion can happen in the silence. Devotion can happen in contemplation. So zeal is not necessarily all about the big and the loud and the extroverted, but it's all as much about that inner devotion to what it is that you believe in, to your values, to what's important to you. And order. So this is the most misunderstood power. Most misunderstood power out of all of them, except maybe love, because everyone thinks love is an emotion. But people kind of get that now. Order. I hear from people, you hear people say, oh, it's all in divine order. What are they saying? They're saying it's already been fated somehow, that there is some entity that has decided for us what it is that's going to happen. That is not what we believe in Unity. Everyone take a breath with me. We believe that we are a creator, not that we're just sort of at the whim and whimsy of some greater power. We understand that we are co-creating. Yes, there is a larger presence, but it includes me. I'm not separate from it. So when we talk about divine order, what we're talking about is the creative process that we get to engage in. What do I need to become in order for this thing to become manifest? That is what divine order actually is. So it's not a sort of like, oh, it's all in divine order and I'm just going to leave it to something, someone else. No, it's divine order lives in me as a creator. How and what am I creating right now? We are the hands and feet. We are the way that things manifest in time and in space. It happens through and as our very life. So order as a power is how we put our thoughts and actions in order. How we have a structure, an organized structure to support our divine purpose. I like to think of it as the trampoline that I'm bouncing on in life, right? Order is the thing that I get to bounce around on. And it is adjusting, right? I get to change my actions. I get to choose anew. I get to be responsive to what's happening in my life. Now, does this mean that I am going to be free from all bad things that are ever going to happen? No. We are not a magical thinking teaching. We are here to experience life, and life is all of it. The joys and the sorrows, it's all of it. But what the power of order does is enable me to root myself in the truth of who I am as I navigate life's ups and downs. What happens in time and space is always going to change. As much as we love it, as much as we wish it would just always stay the same, it isn't going to. But the thing that is a constant in our life is our divine identity. We can always come back to that. And then it is the evolutionary power of order. We get to learn from our experiences. We get to grow in knowledge. We get to understand more, and that's part of that pivot, right? That's part of that, like, oh, I've been down that path. How many of us have done that, where we're like, oh, you know, I did that already once, and it was really painful. I don't think I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make a different choice. That is you exercising your power of order. You're pivoting. And then life is the fourth one, right? And life is what energizes, what vitalizes, what enlivens and animates everything. So it is the animating power. It is always looking for renewal. You'll hear me often say in my prayers, always more and never less. Because it is always growth. It is always expansion. It is always forward movement. That is the power of life. And it is the power of vitality so that we can give life to our dreams, to our intentions, to our divine purpose. It is through the power of life that we actually get to show up and energize the thing in time and space around us. Have you ever been part of a team or something, and things are like, and then someone shows up, and all of a sudden everything starts to happen? It's because what they brought into it was the power of life. They enlivened it. And then the power of presence. And this to me is what again, every time I read Linda's book, I was like, oh, that hidden sort of like understanding of the power. Life is our divine presence. It's our compassionate presence. It is how we are called to shine the light of our spiritual understanding in the world. That is our power of life. And can you feel how all of these work together? So zeal starts us off. Life is what's keeping us moving. Release is what allows us to continue to grow and expand. And order is what allows us to keep pivoting, to keep choosing anew. So we would say that order structures, zeal energizes, Release frees us, and life renews us. So we have to organize our choices. We talk about this all the time in Unity. Bring consciousness to your life. Release what no longer serves. Live with enthusiasm and renewed vitality, believing in the power of life, to always renew, the renewer and the restorer. That is the power of life. So, how many people here have been watching the Olympics? Oh, you should. It's really amazing. We've watched everything. We watched the opening ceremonies, and then we just sat there, and I'm a big ice skating watcher. Don't try to get me on ice skates on the ice. That's a terrifying thing. But I do love to watch the skill, and I love to watch the athleticism and the grace. And I mean, it's always breathtaking. So Kristen Spores is from Great Britain, right? And she woke up about a year ago. She had qualified for the Olympics. She woke up and she could not feel her legs, like 3 weeks later. She went through spinal dislocation. She had surgery, right? And in the process of all of that, she cannot feel her left leg below her knee. She has no feeling below her knee on her left leg. This is her skating at the Olympics, not being able to feel below her left knee, right? Did she simplify? So all of her jumps, she was able to create them so she landed on her right leg, right? Except for one that was required, where she had to do it on her left, and she just did a single. She got 0 points, right? She got 0 points. This is what she says. I watch the Olympics and I just cry. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I am so inspired by what athletes do, because they live into who they are so clearly. My Olympic story is less about medals and more about resilience now. It changed the way I view it. For the first time in my career, I feel like I'm doing it for myself, without any expectation or pressure. It's my journey. And all people did was cheer her, right? All people did was cheer her. I kept saying, like, she has no feeling in her left leg. And Johnny Weir and Tara, like, muscle memory is doing something for her right now, right? Because she can't feel it. And yet she got out there. She got out there. She manifested it in time and in space. Can you feel how she put into place what we're talking about today? She had a structure that she went back to, that she held true to. She brought her enthusiasm. She brought her ability to believe in her own renewal, in her own capacity to heal. And she had to release all the expectations about what it meant to be an Olympian. She had to redefine it for herself. And in the process, she becomes an inspiration to so many people. Are y'all inspired right now? I mean, she inspired me. So this is what we're being invited into, to structure our life with purpose, to energize what matters, to release the old patterns, and to bring fresh life into the world. That's what these powers give us, the capacity to be this, to do that, to show up in a world that you think people thought she could do that? She had to fight for that. She had to fight to not be replaced, right? She had to fight for her, what she knew was hers to do and hers to be. She didn't just sit around and say, oh, divine order will take care of it, right? Can you feel the difference? She was creating her experience. So who would this and what would this world be if we had that kind of structure? If we had that kind of organization? If we were actually adjustable? How many people in here would love to be more adjustable? The cleansing power. That we can cleanse away the stories and the negativity and the wounds and the hurt and and that we can step into that power of forgiveness. That forgiveness, because when you carry around resentment, it's like poisoning yourself and expecting the other person to die. It may feel really good on one level, but it is eating away at the truth of who you are on another level. If we brought enthusiasm and audacity, anybody in here willing to be audacious with me? Yes. Devotion, presence. Just being a presence in this world of light, of love, of vitality, of renewal, of potential, of possibility. This is how we make transformation real in time and in space. So last week I shared The Soil Beneath by Cameron Trimble, and this part really spoke to me in relationship to what we're talking about today. When people are deprived of the freedom to participate meaningfully in shaping their futures, something inside them withers. Vitality does not disappear, it curdles. It turns into resentment and the longing for someone who promises control. We are being invited to be empowered. This is our year of empowerment, yes? Now, this is where we are being invited to be the thing that we say we wish there was more of in the world. I know it's hard, right? I know it can feel hard sometimes, like, oh, can I make a dent? Oh, can I make a difference? Yeah, actually, you do make a difference. And the more you believe you make a difference, guess what? The more impactful your difference is going to be. We have to stand in the fact that we are powerful beings. So we have faith, strength, wisdom, and love for inner clarity. We have power, imagination, understanding, and will for us to begin to understand how we have to embody change. And then that inspired actions arise from order, zeal, release, and life. They're living that for us, aren't they? They are living that. They are modeling what it means to catch a vision, to not say, who are we to try to make a difference or an impact in the world? I mean, there aren't that many of them, actually, right? It's not like they've got thousands of monks that are walking for peace. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up online. But they have been walking from Texas to, and I was so upset that they weren't here. I wanted them to be here in California. But they walked from Texas to DC. And they're almost there, or they did just arrive, or they almost arrived, or they're close to arriving, or the dog has stolen social media. Right? The dog has stolen social media, especially because then he couldn't walk for a while, and then they're carrying him, and but they just kept on going through the snow. I mean, they're stopping traffic on highways. They are just making the walk. They stood in what they believed in, and they're inspiring people. They lived into their values, and can you feel how balanced their powers had to be in order for them to do this walk? So here's our practice, all right? So for the power of order, take a look. What structures are working in your life and which ones aren't? Where are you invited to pivot? And then choose one area to bring it into alignment. Baby steps, just one area. I'm going to work on this one area to bring it into alignment. Zeal. Ask yourself, what lights me up? Because guess what? If it lights you up, I can guarantee it's going to light me up. We saw it with Sharon. She got up here. Was she lit up? Did she light us up? It's contagious, right? That's the thing about zeal. It's contagious. So what excites you? Where are you being invited to be bold and audacious? Right? And what is worthy of your time and devotion? What is worthy for you to be devoted to it? And then ask, what's draining my energy? Because that's the power of release. What's draining my energy? And don't necessarily think it's something out there draining your energy. What's draining your energy is how you think and hold what's happening out there. Does that make sense? So what's draining my energy? Where am I holding on to resentment? Where am I invited to rethink, repent? And where am I open? Can I open to release it all with compassion and gratitude? Because whatever it is that you're holding, it got you here. Right? It got you here. So we can be grateful for whatever gets us to where we are, and we can lovingly release it with gratitude and appreciation, and still be open to what's next. And then the power of life. Where is life calling for more life? That's my part of my koan when I meditate. Where is life calling for more life? Where am I invited to say yes to vitality and creativity and growth? And where am I called to be the light, to be a compassionate presence in the world? And does this world need light and compassionate presence right now? And how are you called to actually fulfill that? Because that's really what we're here to do, is to activate it all in time and in space. So let's take this into our time of meditation. Just understanding that this is our life's work, yes? This isn't something we master now. This is where we just get to continue to engage with the truth of what's available to us, which we understand through this idea of the 12 powers. But we're really talking about our divine identity and all the ways that things are interfering with our ability to actually live into that more fully, more powerfully, more joyfully. So we breathe into the truth of who we actually are. That wholeness, just feeling yourself relaxing and allowing the ease and the grace that is always a thought away, that is always a breath away. Just allowing whatever might have been stirred up during this talk, just allowing out of that one power. Pick one right now for the week. Is it order? Is it life? Is it release? Is it zeal? What is happening within your life right now that is asking for you to align with your divine purpose? To be the place, the space where vitality and growth and renewal flow freely, where your enthusiasm and your compassion are being invited to show up. Where are you being invited to be bold, audacious even? Ask yourself, do I dare? And what is it that you're being invited to let go of that might just be an old understanding that it's time to let go? It's time to release it because it's creating some sort of barrier between you or understanding of yourself and the truth of who you are. And let's just rest here for a few minutes in the silence as we listen to how these powers are being invited to show up as each of us right now. How good it is to be still and know how grateful I am to know that all of this is just continuing to reverberate within each one of us for this coming week, this month, this year. Just the evolution in consciousness that is our birthright. The healing power that is our birthright. And the bold audaciousness that we are being invited to live into more fully, more powerfully in every moment. How grateful I am for this time to be still and know. And I invite you to welcome these powers into your beingness by saying along with me, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. So the affirmation, which I'll say first, and then I'll invite you to say with me, is I am order, zeal, release, and life. I release and renew, audaciously living in alignment with my divine purpose, my light in service to a more just world. Can we know this together, please? I am order, zeal, release, and life. I release and renew, audaciously living in alignment with my divine purpose, my light in service to a more just world. And so it is.